I'm just trying to get my slides up and running. I'm excited to be with you today. It's going to be a lovely 90 minutes that we're going to spend together. So I want us to quickly go into it. And we're going to be looking at the architecture of a global educator. You've seen the ads, you've seen the posts. What do we really mean? And the next 90 minutes, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm going to tell you like some harsh truths, and we're just going to see what we can do to, increase our impact, increase our income. I know a lot of people are here for the income. So you're going to learn what to do to increase your income, increase your impact, and how you can really work with people outside of just, I am a teacher. Sometimes I meet teachers, and one of the things they say is, I'm a teacher. And you see them looking at themselves with pity, all of that. Myself, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for many, many, many years. Okay? And my slides up, just give me a thumbs up. I can't see anything. So let me know. Maybe just use the chat function. Let me know if you can see my slides. So a few things. One of the things that we're going to look into is what it means to be a global educator and what the architecture of a global educator looks like. There are a lot of things that the system has not taught you, but the world is demanding something completely different. Different in not just your skills, not just that, oh, I have a degree, okay? Or you're acquiring certificates. I've also seen people asking for certificates, or would we get a certificate out after this training? No, it's not just that. We're going to go beyond that to understanding what it means to have relevance as an educator. So I want to promise you something. I'm not entertaining you, like I said, but I'm going to share some things that will shift your perspective about yourself, shift your positioning, shift the way you also, express yourself, the way you interact. And I really chose the word, or I deliberately chose the word, architecture. I didn't use the word development. I didn't think of improvement, architecture. One of the things that I see and I've experienced, working with teachers, working with educators, lecturing here in the UK in 3 different universities, setting up college clusters, mapping curriculum, is that many of the students that have come to us have come from a system where teachers have taught them to teach, not to architect. And if you understand what it means, the structural meaning of architecture, you're going to start positioning yourself differently from this night. And by the time you go back to school on Monday, for those who are online class teachers or online teachers, the way you would position, the way you will start to speak to parents will completely change. So let me know if you're ready. Can you see my slides? I haven't gotten, okay, you can see it. Okay, good. So one of the things I'm going to say to you, and some things may feel uncomfortable, is that some people have gone through teacher colleges. Some people have gone through, um, you know, teacher programs. Maybe you have a degree, a HND. But one of the things that has happened is that it's not like you were underprepared. Yeah, you were not underprepared. I find that many teachers, many educators have been deliberately unfinished. And there's a difference between underprepared and being unfinished. So today we're going to finish what the system refused to start. There are a lot of things the system has refused to start, and that's why you're complaining about low wages. You're complaining about not being recognized. See, if there's nothing you remember from this session today, remember this. You're in a profession that makes every other profession. You're in the profession that makes every other profession. We find that thousands of teachers across Africa, they complete their training, receive their certificates, they work into classrooms, but then nobody fully explains to them what it means to teach and what it means to house an architecture. So we're going to go straight into this. Now, I want to ask you a question, and it may feel uncomfortable. Please don't think I'm trying to shame you or look down on you. It is far from this. But if you were If a school in Canada or a school in Finland or Singapore, they were hiring today, would your CV make the cut? Would they pick up your CV and say, yes, we can employ this person? And you don't have to give us an answer, answer it yourself. You are in a profession that makes all other professions. And so you need to think about this carefully. If a school in Finland, in Singapore or Canada were hiring today, would your CV make the cut? But before I even go into that, go into a little more detail. Do you even have a professional CV? If I asked you today, send me your CV in the next 5 minutes, would you be able to send it? And would it be a standard CV that if, for instance, you had to present it to anyone, they can say, oh, this will fly in the UK, this will fly in Finland, this will fly in Singapore. Would you have that kind of CV? See, many things that are happening is in your CV, you list a lot of your qualifications, but you don't understand your competencies. There's a difference between having qualifications. There's also a difference between having and housing competencies. There's a difference in how you think, and there's a difference in having global literacy. We now live in a global village. Do you have an understanding of all these things? Do you have an understanding of all these things? Now, for most African educators I've come across, their honest answer is probably not. And it's not your fault. It has nothing, 100% is not your fault. The fault is that you've been trained to survive locally, but never equipped to compete globally. Aladima Primary School, in Ijesha Nursery and Primary, you've been trained to survive locally, but not compete globally. And today, I want us to change that. I want us to change that narrative. It's not because you're not brilliant. It's just that nobody has really sat down to build you for this level of exposure, to build you for this level of competence. Are you still with me? We're going deeper. We're going somewhere. Can you hear me? I can't see anything, so I'm just speaking. Now, I said earlier on that I lectured in the UK in 3 different universities for over 8 years, set up college clusters, set up research centers, involved in curriculum planning and all of that. So I have a unique vantage point. And I've sat on the receiving end of what African education produces. Don't get me wrong. We have people who are excellent. I'm a product of African teachers as well. Yeah. But I've also seen up close that there's actually a gap. There's a gap with what our teachers are being built for and what the world now demands. Do you understand? And I say this because I have a PhD in e-government, in risk and semantic AI. I've been consulting for governments and advising them. I have an MSc in artificial intelligence, and I've spent a lot of time. I've spent years studying how systems, including educational systems, are designed. I've spent years studying how they fail and then how they can be rebuilt. But we cannot even talk about all of these things without thinking about the teacher, the person who is integral to the delivery of these processes. Are you following me? So, one of those things is that I've seen students really struggle. They arrive underprepared. I'll give you a typical example. When we had people come over here from Nigeria for maybe masters or their first degree, you will hear things like, I was never taught. I was never even taught how to use a paraphrasing software or how to reference my work. You hear those kind of things. You hear those things. And so it's not because the students that are brilliant are weak. It's just because the teachers that they have have not been built for this kind of world. So doing my work, tracing it back, there was a significant gap. And that's why we're here, to close that gap, to close the gap in your learning, to close the gap in your understanding. Okay, everyone can hear me. Now, let's look at the root cause. One of the things is that teachers have been trained to deliver content. So today we're going to write notes. I'm very familiar with teachers that before TTT became a thing, I was working with small groups of teachers, and you hear things like, oh, let's write, I need to write note for my students. I need, all of those things. But what you must understand is that content delivery is a transaction. Content delivery is a transaction. So you see that teachers, the educators we have today, have been trained to deliver content, but they've never really been trained to architect learning. And if you understand what this means, it means it's almost like having an ecosystem. There's a profound difference between delivering content is transactional, and architecting learning. Learning architecture on its own is a craft. It's a craft. So the system that is built to just deliver content produces students who are focused on passing exams. The one that focuses on architecting learning produces students who can think, who can adapt, and who can lead. You're moving beyond, I'm just delivering content, to competencies that must be developed in these students. There's a new demand that the world has placed on educators now. There's a new demand. It's not just placing that on teachers, those who can go into a classroom. It's placing that on people who can become architects of learning. That's why we have this whole thing today. So I want to offer you a reframe that I really believe will change how you think about African education. If you notice, every conversation about the state of education in Africa focuses on the students. What's the pass rate? Yeah, how many students dropped out? So dropout rates. What are the literacy levels? What's the performance in STEM? You find that all of these things focus on the student. So the student is always the subject of the sentence. And I want us to change that sentence today. The thing is, we don't have a student crisis because children are being born every day. What we have as a crisis is a teacher sovereignty crisis. And what do I mean by sovereignty? I mean where teachers have the professional authority. Let me not say teachers. I want to use educators because some people here may be lecturers. Where educators have professional authority, they have the intellectual confidence and capacity. They have the structural, competence to walk into any classroom. I didn't say walk into a classroom in Lagos. I didn't say walk into a classroom in Anambra. I said they can walk into any classroom. They can walk into any classroom in any context, and then they can architect a learning experience that changes what is possible for young learners or for the young people in that room. So you need to understand something, that a sovereign teacher does not just deliver. You're responsible for design. A sovereign teacher does not just manage behavior. You understand, the neuroscience of behavior and even learning. That's why sometimes parents lose interest because you're just saying, he didn't pass his test. I gave test, he got 7/10. No, you need to understand the different things that children should be graded on now. It's not just that you're giving tests. It's not just that you did an assessment. So you need to understand it, that there's also the neuroscience of learning, and how you command that and communicate that is important. So this is one of the root causes. There are a few things we're going to go into today. We're going to look at why the system produced the wrong kind of teacher. We're going to understand the global standard. We're going to look into what the competency gap is so that you can measure yourself against this. We'll look into the architecture, so the frameworks that you must rebuild from the inside out. There are a bit, a few technical things related to AI. And then we're going to look into the path that I have created for educators today. What I want to achieve at the end of this session is that you begin to see yourself and your future differently. That the next time I come across you, the way you think about yourself, the way you communicate will completely change. So let's begin with an honest diagnosis. Why did the system, why has Africa produced the wrong kind of teacher? I don't know. You think. Do you think that you've been given all the tools and everything you need to architect learning anywhere? Because I really believe that whether you lecture or you teach in Africa, you can also command and teach in UK classrooms, in Finland classrooms. Yeah? Evelyn, how are we doing in the comment section? Or if there's anybody, how are we doing on YouTube? How are we doing? Can we go on? Are people following? Because
Yes,
I'm not
ma'am,
going
we
to
can.
go really fast.
Yeah, we are good.
Okay. Okay. So there are two types of teachers in the world. One, content deliverers, and the second type, learning architects. Like I said earlier, the system has trained most people to just be content deliverers. So they are following the syllabus, they're teaching to the exam, they are measuring success by grades, they're dependent on the system, and in the next 5 years, they're replaced by AI. But then you find learning architects, they're thinking about the learning experience, they're building critical thinkers, they are looking at opportunities to make sure that these children have the right set of skills to survive where the world is headed. What the workforce of the future looks like. They are measuring success by transformation or not by grades. These are people who are valued globally. See, we're rewriting the narrative about teachers. We're rewriting it. And learning architects are people who are irreplaceable by AI. This gap you see between being a content or being content deliverers and being learning architects is why many people feel stuck. Is the reason many people feel undervalued, underpaid, underprepared. There's a significant gap, and we're going to look into it. What has happened? Most teachers are trapped in a survival cycle. So, underpaid, they're overloaded, constantly attending workshops, trying to amass as many certificates as possible, and nothing is changing. Every year, we're repeating the same cycle. Every year. Because, see, we can have 101 workshops. You can have workshops about pedagogy today. Tomorrow, you're having a workshop about learning design. You're having all of these things. They are giving you the content, but nothing is really rebuilding your architecture. Nothing is rebuilding how you think. Nothing is rebuilding how you position yourselves. Because the workshop will give you more content to deliver. And I'm saying, no, there's a lot you already know. Can we change your mindset? Can we break some limiting beliefs? And can we now start to work? Okay? So now we've also confused ourselves. We've confused attendance with competence. So people have not even attended this. This is a typical example now. People haven't even attended this training. And the next thing they're saying is, will I get a certificate? Because there's this craze for certificates. Amassing certificates does not mean you are competent. I have interviewed 101 people. You see their CVs. It has all the bobo, like big grammar and big things. And when it comes to actually doing the work, they cannot do it. Because let me tell you something, you can go online and you put a training and you're watching it. You set it, it's going, you may be sleeping. At the end of the day, certificate. I hope there are people like, we don't have people like this who are trying to sleep on the call today. So amassing all these things does not show that you are transformed. It does not show transformation. Yeah? It can prove that you've paid for an experience if it is a paid training, but it does not prove transformation. It does not prove that you can perform. It does not even prove that you can think. It does not prove that you're globally competitive. It doesn't do anything. So the world does not hire certificates. What we're hiring now, the things we're looking out for now, competencies. And you need to start asking yourself, what competencies do I have? What competencies do I have? Do you even know what competencies are? Okay, now we have AI. AI is already here. We've been living in it. I had my master's in 2011, and my master's was in AI 15 years ago. So AI is here and is doing what, how would I put this mildly? Is doing what content deliverers do faster, is doing it, cheaper, and is even doing it more consistently. A time is coming where some, some people will not even find teaching jobs because parents, there are ways around these things now. So the question is not whether AI will disrupt your teaching. The question is whether you will be the kind of educator AI would not replace. And this is not limited to classroom educators. Even the online, don't think that you're secure. This is a space that I'm living in every day. Do not think that you're secure. AI can generate assessments. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who homeschool their children. They are not using educators from, online educators. They are homeschooling their children. Some of them work, and so they take it, work fully and go to the office, and they take it in turn between, husband and wife, and they're homeschooling their children. So even those who are doing online education, please don't think that your, this thing will not touch you. So you need to now understand that AI can go over and above. It can generate assessments, it can mark papers, it can give feedback, it can personalize learning for any child, any and every child, but it cannot think. It cannot design. It cannot architect. It doesn't have human feelings. So people who just focus on content will be replaced. And you'll find that the learning architect will become more valuable. So let me take a few things just from my experience and my work. I have a PhD in semantic AI. And one thing I see is that most people are describing AI from the outside. But there's a lot happening on the inside. So ChatGPT, everybody's happy. Claude, Grok, which other one? All those tools, they're all there, and there's nothing wrong with them. But everybody is describing from the outside. Let me give you an example of what happens inside. There's what we call tokenization. So this is the first stage where your sentence is broken into, a sentence, a lesson, a curriculum can be broken into fragments. But at this point, AI has no concept of meaning yet. So you see how I've broken this good morning class. It breaks it down. Good morning class. Tokens. The next thing is that AI starts to calculate which fragments relate to what other fragments. So it starts to establish statistical relationships across your entire lesson plan, across what other people have also fed it. The third stage is looking at knowledge retrieval. So it's searching human text for patterns that match your context. So again, there's more pedagogy at this stage. The fourth thing is prediction. It starts to predict the most, statistically likely word. So your lesson plan, okay, after your lesson plan, the next thing you now have an assessment, feedback, all of these things. That's the way it works. And the fifth thing is the gap. It doesn't have an understanding. It doesn't have an intention. It doesn't have, there's no human wisdom. Never you think that you're irrelevant, my dear educators. Don't ever think that you're irrelevant. So you'll find that it's building brilliant sounding output, but there's zero comprehension of what really matters. You are the one in the classroom. You're the one face to face with these students. You're the one face to face with school leadership. You're the one face to face with parents. So what it does is that it can write your lesson plan, but it doesn't know which child needs it the most. I know in my class now that Emeka would need it because he's a neurodiverse learner. He has, or maybe Amara has ADHD. It will generate 100 questions for you, but it cannot decide which question will change your life. And so there will be speculations. I'm living in this field every single day. It can give feedback to 300 students, but it cannot be, it can't build belief that makes them try again. Who will cajole the student to say even if you fail, try again. Even if it didn't work, try again. Yes, it is the most powerful tool given to any teacher, but you need to understand how to wield it and how to use it appropriately to your advantage. Are you still following? Are you still following? Are people following? How is the comment? How are we going? We're going to go very fast. I'm just establishing the context. How are the comments on YouTube? Maybe I should have a look on YouTube and see what's happening. Can I have, can anyone let me know what's happening on YouTube? Okay, okay. So the truth is that we're in a critical period. There's a critical transition window that we're faced with. Between 2026 and 2028, we're in very critical times. So teachers who adapt in this window will lead the next era of education. If you do not, you will find yourself increasingly irrelevant. You'll become more frustrated. And I'm not trying to predict anything, it's already happening. But if you use this window to rebuild what you already know, you would rebuild and lead the next era. But if you wait, you will find that you're waiting too much for the gap to close. Okay. So one of the things I want to say to you is that you're not the problem. You're a product of a system that was never designed to produce global educators. That's why you're working extra hard. But the truth is that you're also the solution. If you choose to be, you're not the problem. You're a product of a system that was never designed to produce global educators. It's been looking for people to produce, just follow the content. Just follow the lesson plan. Just do it as it was done before. We're going to change that here. Now, I want to show you what the world actually demands. It's deeper than what you've been told. It's more specific, it's more demanding than anything you've ever been told before. Let's look at it. Before we can talk about global opportunities and positioning, let's understand what global standards are. Because you can't even architect what you don't understand. You can't pursue what you don't understand. The world is demanding something entirely different. If you're a school owner now, I keep on hammering on this. Don't just say, after all, I have a school, they're paying school fees. The world is demanding something completely different. And so you must make sure that your teachers can provide that something different. Let's look at global competency. And I'm going to tell you a funny story at this point. What is global competency? Some people think it's about speaking good English. I had a parent say to a teacher, see, I just want my child to be speaking Fune. Anyhow you want to do it. I was like, what? Sorry, come back. What do you mean? She was like, I just want this child to be speaking Fune. This is what some people think global competency is. A child may speak Fune. So you find all these children that are twisting their tongues and speaking grammar and all of those things, but they're almost empty. It's not about having a foreign degree. It's not just using technology in class. These are not global competencies. These are surface level things. It's not about language. It's not about your credentials. It's not even about the tools that you can use. I can use ChatGPT. I can use Perplexity. No, it's about how you can think, how you can design, and how you can lead. See what global competency is. The ability to design learning that transfers across cultures, contexts, and systems. That you don't think that the only people that you can ever teach will be Nigerians or Nigerians in the diaspora. is the ability and capacity to think in frameworks, not just in terms of the content you're delivering. Global competence is your ability to use evidence, to use data, to use research to make pedagogical decisions. Is the fluency to navigate AI, to navigate digital tools, to understand and even navigate global education policies. Is having the leadership to influence beyond your classroom. That's what the world pays for. That's what we want to pay for. See, stop thinking that global competence is just about your credential. It is a way of designing, thinking, and leading. The ability to create learning that works, irrespective of context. The capacity to make decisions that, are evidence-based. It is how fluent you are with navigating tools. Now, one thing I want to say to you is that your lack of this competency, or the competency gap, let me not use the word your lack. The competency gap is costing you a lot of things. It's costing you promotions that you will never hear about. It's costing you opportunities that go to people who may even be less experienced educators or teachers. It's costing you raises. It's costing you recognition. That's what the competency gap is doing, because you've been so focused on being a content deliverer. Now, let's look at the Global Educator Competency Framework. There are a few things you must consider. There are 6 domains and then 30 plus competencies. This is what global schools hire for. Global schools, parents across the world, this is what they hire for. So you've been thinking of leaving Otakara high, and I believe that life is in stages. But what have you done to elevate yourself? So there's pedagogical intelligence, there's digital and AI fluency, there's curriculum architecture, leadership and systems thinking, cultural and global literacy, professional entrepreneurship. You're thinking of diversifying your income. Not everybody is going to be selling granules. There are other ways to diversify. Yeah. So this is what, these are the things that global organizations, international organizations, education systems, these are the things that they hire for. So I want to take you through each one. If you look at pedagogical intelligence, this is the foundation. The science and art of designing learning that actually works. It's not just about knowing what to teach. It's understanding the science of learning, that you understand it so deep, you understand it deep enough to design experiences that produce transformation in your learners. So it goes beyond information transfer. A lot of people are just doing information transfer. This is what pedagogical intelligence is. The second one, digital and AI fluency. This is not about coding. You don't have to be a coder. It's about being a technologist. It's about being a strategic user too of technology, where you learn to use technology to your advantage. A global educator would know what tools to use, when to use them, and how to evaluate their impact on learning. These are the things. When you're giving reports to parents, some of you don't weave in all of these things. Now, I want to talk about using AI tools, because we're still talking about digital and AI fluency. There are 5 specific strategic moves that some educators may have heard of. So if you attended our Owerri, Abuja, or Lagos workshops, you would have heard me talk about prompting, and I went into detail on prompting and prompt architecture. So yes, the science of instructing AI with precision. So you see that most teachers type questions into AI, but then if you want something rich, I went through the process with you. If you miss that training, that's a training that you need to get. I think it has we have CPD certificates for that one as well. How to produce context-rich prompts. The second thing is AI augmented differentiation. So instead of just saying, oh, I want a lesson for 40 students, you're saying, no, I have 5 students who are autistic. I have some who are, have ADHD. I have this child who will never sit. I have this child who is always humming in class. So you give the AI tool, whatever AI tool you're using, the different contexts, the context of your classroom and the different types of learners that you have. The third is predictive intervention. So you start to find where students are at risk of disengaging at a certain time. There's what we also have semantic curriculum mapping, where you can use AI to analyze student responses at scale. And then there's ethical AI design. Many people are even creating AI for not for good. People are creating AI, but they're not using it for good. Okay? I told you that there was something at the beginning, the path that we've created, and these are 5 specific strategic moves that you will find in our finishing school, and you will master all 5. So we're not doing just outside AI, the inside one. Now, there are 5 sovereign AI moves. That's basic. That's very basic. This do not come like this is based on research. This is based on my work in AI. So there's cognitive load mapping. You would understand how to use a large language model to analyze cognitive load. There's the semantic coherence analysis as well. So how you can start to create semantic relationships between concepts in your curriculum and activities. You will find that there are invisible disconnections. You will have to learn these things, and it doesn't take time to learn them. You will see predictive failure intervention as well. So you start to get pattern recognition models. You start to hear about machine learning. There's knowledge graph construction. So you're getting, ways to represent your knowledge. And there's AI resistant pedagogy design, where you start to design learning experiences that no matter what is happening, AI cannot replicate it or replace. So I'm giving you like a reverse engineering thing about the system. This is part of what we have in the finishing school, and it is in our advanced AI pathway. Okay. Now, what happens to students when their teachers have these skills? This has nothing to, it's not just about you, it's about them. So students whose teachers are not AI equipped, they just receive one size fits all. They wait for days for feedback. They fall behind. They're assessed on memory, not mastery. They graduate without 21st century readiness. If you're not preparing your children, your students, your learners for the future of work, you need to start rethinking what you're doing. And then you find that students enter a world that education did not prepare them for. I was talking to a 15-year-old, very intelligent, like he's been acing everything. They showed me his results and I was going through it, excellent results. But then when we came to having like serious conversations, he couldn't hold a conversation. And I've seen so many people like that. But when you have an AI ready architect, there are different things that you will do with this type of people. So let's stop teaching just for exams. Now, when you are joining this finishing school, and I'm going to go into that in more detail later, you're investing in the students you would ever teach. All the students you will ever teach, you're investing in them as much as you're investing in yourself. Now, let's look at curriculum architecture. So this is your ability to design learning at scale, not just lesson by lesson. That's why you're tired. That's why some of you will be marking into the night. Because you haven't sat down to understand that you can actually design a curriculum at scale. So you can design a curriculum that is comprehensive, is coherent, is progressive, is outcome driven. And as you're designing it, is building competencies over time in the students or learners. This is what curriculum educators do, curriculum directors, curriculum consultants, and international schools. This is what they hire for. But if you can't explain this, so you're teaching a child lesson at home, and you can't even explain, or you're a home lesson teacher, you can't really explain to parents what you're doing, then there's a problem. Okay, let's look into the fourth one, leadership and systems thinking. So it's moving from just being a classroom practitioner. I'm a teaching assistant, yes, but the way you communicate it is different. Leadership and systems thinking, these are the things that separates, a great teacher from a great educator, from excellent educators. Or oh, I'm just a good teacher. When you are able to have a leadership system in place, you will change what is happening in your classroom. Beyond that, you will change the system. So this particular domain is about building capacity to lead beyond your classroom. You're leading in your classroom, but you're going over and beyond that. You're developing other teachers. You're building capacity. You're interpreting policies. How many of you look at some of the educational policies apart from, oh, Nigeria has changed the curriculum? Domain 5 and 6, these are your differentiators. Cultural and global literacy is a thing. This is cultural literacy is what enables you connect with your learners. So I may be teaching in a school in the village, but I'm using the cultural tools and practices to explain things to them, but mapping them to global competencies. When we talk about domain 6, which is professional sovereignty, you now start to say what allows you to thrive within your profession. But you're not just doing that, you have authority, you have recognition, and then you're also finding that you get the financial security that you deserve. These two things really separate globally recognized educators from the ones that are invisible. These two domains. Now, I want you to look in the mirror. I went through those 6 domains very quickly, and we didn't go into all the 30 plus competencies. But I want you to ask yourself, of the 6 domains that I have mentioned, of the 30 plus competencies, how many do you currently have? How many were you formally taught? How many? I don't know what's happening in the comment section, but it would be good to get feedback on that. How many were you formally taught? And how many, do you currently have? So I'm just going to pause and wait for any feedback. Maybe I should look on YouTube. Oh, I don't have my tablet here. Look on YouTube and see what people are saying. Do we have any answers coming in? Do we have any answers? How many were you formally taught? And how many of these 6 domains do you know?
We have responses coming. People say no. We have none. We have no. Someone says is formally taught. 3 main domain. None, none. Okay, none, none. We have a lot of none. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming. And I know that we are going to enjoy more of this. When we try to register for the finishing school, we have a whole lot of this package in it. So let's keep the responses coming. We have a lot of none. We have a lot of none. These are the kind of mindsets we're going to be changing in our finishing school. So get ready. Okay, we have a lot of none.
Okay.
None, we
Okay.
have 3 things. All right.
Okay. So you see that there's a gap. There's actually a gap. And the gap is not your fault. But closing that gap is your responsibility. I'll say that again. The gap is not your fault, but closing the gap is your responsibility. Do you agree with me? Okay, you answered. Tell the mirror. Just be looking into the mirror and be telling it. Now let's look into the competency gap. And I want us to get more specific about the precise skills that you are missing and why it actually matters. 1, the competency gap. See what you were trained for. Quickly look at it. Look at what the world is now demanding. If I had to hire anybody to teach my child, I'll be looking at what the world now demands. I ask serious questions. So we're not playing here. My children, everybody, your children matter a lot to you. So before I get someone to teach my child, I need to know, what do you do? Beyond I'm a teacher, I know how to teach maths. So if you look on the left side, that's what you were trained for. On the right is what the world now demands. And the gap between them is not is not a failure of effort. Yeah, it is a failure of design. A failure of design on the part of people who are responsible for setting, our educational systems up and things like that. It's a failure of design. People responsible for our policies and governance, failure of design. So the way our system has been built, it's not been built to, design or produce global educators or globally competitive educators. So we have work to do and we have grounds to cover. We have grounds to cover. What happens is that the teacher that the system produces, you find that they are working extremely hard. You would agree with me that you're working hard, but it's not making sense. You're working like a lion or walking like an elephant, living like a rat. You find that you're carrying the emotional weight of your students. Then you find that you're serving faithfully, you're attending workshops faithfully, you're amassing all those certificates, but then you're still struggling financially. And somehow you begin to feel invisible. So, one of the things I want you to think is this thing the world needs, how am I going to get there? You're not a bad teacher, you're just the teacher that the system has produced. And I know that we have a lot of accidental teachers. The teacher of the future requires that a teacher designs learning experiences. You use AI as a strategic tool. In fact, if I'm speaking to any, how are you using AI? I want to know. I want to know if the teacher understands the ethics behind using an AI tool. I want to know if privacy is something that they take into consideration. A teacher that the world now demands would influence beyond their classroom and beyond the subject that they're teaching. Okay? So this is what we're talking about in terms of an architecture. An architecture. There are three critical missing clusters. One is the learning design intelligence. You find that you can teach, but can you design? They are two different things. And there's a science of learning design. How to sequence, how to scaffold, how to engineer transformation. See, parents will be rushing you. Parents will be rushing your school. The second thing is AI and digital strategic fluency. So you're not just using tools, but you're understanding how AI is changing the role, your role as a teacher. Then professional sovereignty. So these are the three ones I really want to talk about. And these three missing clusters are some of the things that we're going to be working on in the finishing school. Everything that I'm talking about today, they're part of the architecture that we've built for the teacher architects finishing school. Now let's look at the cost of the gap. It's not abstract. You see the cost to your income. You see the cost to your influence. You see what is costing your students, and you see what is costing your career. So there's a serious gap, and this gap will continue to grow if you do nothing about it. But we have good news. Every single one of these competencies can be built. They can be built systematically, they can be built deliberately, and they can be built in weeks, not years. All of you that are afraid of AI, you're saying afraid of digital tools, afraid of technology. Oh, I can't code. No, that's not you. So we're not even using, we don't have to sit down in another workshop. This is going to happen by systematic and deliberate re-education. Systematic and deliberate re-education. And this is what I have curated. This is what TrainDTrainer has curated for educators in Africa. Educators in Africa. Educators of African descent. Now, I want to show you three frameworks that will close this gap today. And I'm not here to give you any theory. I'm not here, if you know me well, I don't have time for aspire to perspire. I'm not trying to inspire anybody. We're looking at what the architecture is. And it is this same architecture that underpins the teacher architects finishing school. One, these are some of the frameworks that you need to address the layers of the competency gaps that you have identified. We have the competency compass. So this is actually a diagnostic and navigational tool for building global educator competency. It's not a checklist, it's a compass. You take an assessment, you get your report, you see where you should be focusing on. Do you understand? So you take a compass and we see that your pedagogy is weak. You know that, man, my focus should be on pedagogy. You see that your knowledge of AI tools is weak. You know, okay, this area I need to go deeper in it. Now, I want you to look at this competency compass. We have 5 zones. One is the north, south, east, and west. North is your pedagogical intelligence and curriculum architecture. The east is your leadership and systems thinking. The south is your digital intelligence and AI fluency. And then the west is your professional sovereignty and entrepreneurship. Now, if you look at the center, it is cultural and global literacy. And this is what integrates this other, the different, the north, south, east, and west. This is what integrates everything. Without it, your competencies will remain local. So I'm not, whatever competency you're building is a competency that can be used anywhere in the world. They can become transferable. I'm sure you've heard of transferable skills before. Sorry. Oh, I'm a bit too fast. I'll go slower. Forgive me. Okay. So let's focus on I'm looking at time because some people were saying, how long will the session be for and things like that. That's why I'm even rushing. Okay. I'll now be very slow. I'll be counting my words one by one. So if you look at the nucleus, the center, cultural and global literacy, this one, any competency you build across the north, south, east, or west can be applied globally. First, they will be relevant in your classroom, they will be relevant to you, and then there are competencies that you can boast of anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Irrespective of the subject area that you're teaching, irrespective of where you are located, you can boast of them. If you're a school owner here or you're involved in education leadership in any way, these things are so important. Please don't think that training your teachers, you're very afraid to train your teachers because you feel you'll train them and they will leave you. My approach is different. My thinking is different. If you train any educator, whether they leave you or they do not leave you, just know that that training is going to influence a child's life. So as they're staying with you and they get that training and maybe they decide to leave for whatever reason, don't be afraid of training your educators. It strengthens your positioning. It strengthens how they feel about themselves in the education process. It strengthens how they can communicate to their parents and other key stakeholders. Okay, how do we use the competency compass? The first one, there are 5 steps. Diagnose. So we honestly assess where you currently sit in each quadrant. What do you know? What can you do? What is missing? The second thing is that we prioritize. So we identify which quadrant gap is costing you the most in income, in influence, in impact, and even peace of mind. The third one is navigate. So we start building your competencies in a deliberate way, not randomly. So when you do it, it tells you what you need to build next. Okay? The fourth one is we make sure that all 4 quadrants are connected through the Cultural and Global Literacy Center. So I'm not training you to on British standards. No. I'm not training you in a way that you will not be able to apply what you're learning to your classroom. No. And then the fifth one is that as you build each quadrant, your reach expands, your income expands, your influence also expands. Are we still all following? Now, let me know how we're doing. I've gone slower. I'm taking my time, but I'm also conscious of time. It's a Friday night. Let me just check. Yes. Okay. So one thing I find out is that many teachers skip the first 2 stages. They skip the diagnosis stage, they skip the prioritization stage, and then they jump straight into collecting more content. Yeah? Collecting more content. 1 second, and just a minute.
Yeah, let's keep. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope we are enjoying the session. For everybody on YouTube, can you take your time to subscribe and like? Click the subscribe button, like the session. I believe we're enjoying a lot, and that is our cue to just subscribe. That is our cue to like. And once again, if you're here in this session and you've been listening to all those beautiful, wonderful, thought-provoking nuggets that has been dropping from our speaker, this is a time to click on the link pinned to the YouTube page for our finishing school and get to enjoy more of this. This is a whole 4 week session. My God, a whole 4 week session. You're going to be with Dr. Kashi for 4 weeks, and you're going to be enjoying amazing, amazing, amazing learning session. So
I'm
please
back.
click on. Okay, our speaker
Yeah.
is back. So we just continue the session.
Okay. Sorry, I just had a break. I had to quickly respond to a crying baby. That's my reality. Anyway, so most teachers keep the first 2 stages and then jump straight into collecting more content, without first diagnosing what they actually need. And I don't want you to work that way. We see what you need, you work on that pathway that you need. The next time you take the test again, you move to the next one. Okay. Now, the second frame one is the Learning Architect's Blueprint. Now, this is a system that separates transformational educators from content deliverers. Okay? It's how you stop teaching content and start engineering transformation. I'm not just looking for someone that will tell my children, do this, do this, do this. I want to see transformation in them. And there are many people like that they will say, oh, because of this. Many parents don't even understand all these things. So when you're explaining to them using the lingo and the lingua, they'll be like, this teacher really gets it though. Now, in this one, we have 4 pillars. One is the outcome clarity. So what transformation do you want? Not what content will you cover? And that also influences your teaching. What transformation do you want to see in your students? So when parents are rushing you, oh, my child has not started writing 1 to 1,000, you stop them. No, I'm not focusing on content. I'm looking at the transformation that is happening in the child. The second thing is the experience design. How will learners encounter, process, and apply what you're teaching them? Many teachers have the first pillar. They have the first pillar. The third is the evidence systems. So how will you know transformation has occurred? What does transformation look like? And then the fourth one is iteration intelligence. How can you use data and feedback to continuously improve? Many teachers have the first pillar. If you want to become a globally competitive educator, you focus on all 4. Are we following? Let me know. Are we following? 1 second. I'm not sure. A call is coming in. Just 1 minute. Okay. Let me stop so that I don't have any calls coming in. Okay. So now let's go. I want you to move from delivery to architecture. What will I teach? The next thing you should think of is what will you be able to do? Instead of thinking of planning lessons, how can I design learning journeys? Instead of measuring by grades, how can I measure transformation? Instead of following the textbook, how can I build experience? So let's look at what the professional sovereignty model is, which is the third framework. Authority. recognition, and security, making sure that you have all three. Now we have a ladder for this. Level 1, invisible practitioner. These are things that we're covering in the architect finishing school. So you're working hard, you're giving everything, but you're not seen. The second one is specialist practitioner, and you can grow through the different ladders. Most teachers I have seen never rise above level 1. And it's not because they're not intelligent or that they lack talent. Nobody really showed them the ladder. In the finishing school, which is the path we've built for you, this is what we will be showing you. This is what we'll be working with you on, where you can move from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Now, let's see the sovereignty stack. There are 5 dimensions: cultural sovereignty, intellectual sovereignty, digital sovereignty, financial sovereignty, pedagogical sovereignty, and we're building all 5 in 4 weeks. You can be in your classroom, you can be doing your master's program, whatever program you're doing, but you're learning all these things. Bite-sized lessons, bite-sized resources day by day. Now let's look at what global recognition looks like. International CPD, global frameworks, sector-wide influence. Many teachers I have seen are not getting any training. We've run surveys, we've run different, programs, and we've seen that many teachers have not received any training. So there's a consequence of building the right architecture in the classroom that you're already in. Stop thinking that global recognition is a destination. It is what happens when you become extraordinary where you are. You can become extraordinary in Otakara High School in Mbiri. You can become globally, relevant. Now, let's look at income. There's no way your income will increase if your practices, does not improve. Okay, so I want you to think about this in this way. How can I reclaim my professional dignity? And you can reclaim your professional dignity in these 5 ways. These 5 ways. Salary scale acceleration. All of these things we will be showing you in the Teacher Architects Finishing School. There are 3 income pathways. The first one, maximizing within the system. The second one, building alongside the system. The third one, repositioning within or beyond. Any school that wants to elevate, this is what you need to do for your teachers. This is what you need to do. What are global employers actually looking for? Evidence of learning design expertise, digital and AI literacy, data-informed practice, cultural competency, leadership and CPD records, professional branding. If I pick some of you now and I say, let me see what your LinkedIn looks like, I will not see anything. All the things you have been teaching, you haven't been able to synthesize it and put them into a publication. So these are some of the things that we're going to be working on so that people can really see you for the educator that you are. Now, I want you to ask yourself, honestly, let's look at a global readiness audit. Can you show a global employer a learning design portfolio? If I asked you now, can you show me your learning design portfolio? Do you have one? Would you be able to articulate your philosophy, your pedagogical philosophy in 90 seconds without saying, oh, I teach just by the streets, I'm also a home lesson teacher. By the side, so I also sell thrift wares. And then all of that is lost. All of the educator experience is lost on you. Can you demonstrate how to use data, how you use data to improve learning? Do you have a professional brand beyond your school walls? Can you name 5 global education frameworks and how they apply to a certain student who a parent may want to get, into your care? Have you ever designed a curriculum from scratch? So these are questions to ask. Start asking yourself, and these are things that we want to work with you on. Now we have the Teacher Architects Finishing School. So you will have a competency compass score. You will have a learning design portfolio. You will have your professional brand strategy. You will know exactly which global pathway fits you. You will be globally competitive. You will position rightly online. And the opportunities that you're really looking for, you have access to them. The reason some teachers are not scaling is because they haven't improved their practices. So don't tell me you want to earn more money and you're not investing in your development. Now, I need you to understand this. We've set a standard. You've seen what the gap is. Perhaps I really believe now that you understand the architecture that we've been trying to build. So now I want to show you the path that we've curated to make you get there. We have what we now call the Teachers Finishing School by TrainDTrainer. Let me say this to you. At the beginning, I said something. You're in the profession that, trains or makes every other profession. If you notice, doctors design health. Yeah? You find that engineers design infrastructure. Architects design cities, isn't it? But teachers design minds. One thing I know is that the most powerful architects in any society are not the ones building skyscrapers. They are the ones who are building minds. And like I said, passion is not enough. You're building minds. You're building minds. So if teachers were never given the architectural tools for that responsibility, how would you scale? How would you scale? That's why we have the Teacher Architect Finishing School. So I've said to you, I've already told you about my UK story, how I've thought, how I've set up things, set up clusters here, constantly working with government. I've been working with the Nigerian government now on some things, and some African governments. And this is still coming up. African educators were not built for the world, for what the world now demands. So we've curated a path that should have existed from inception. That you went to school is not enough. That you have a degree is not enough. The Teacher Architect School is not another course. I'm not here for just, take this course and this is what is happening. It's not another CPD tick box. I'm not trying to give you any deadlines or Sunday night, you must submit this. We're selling a new professional identity. We're selling a new professional identity. How things should start happening. I'm not saying to you in this school, come and learn AI tools. I'm saying to you, become a learning architect. Because you see, come and learn how to do baby design videos. No, that's not what I'm here for. I'm saying to you, come and learn how to become a learning architect. Is the systematic re-architecture of your professional identity. Here you have clarity, you have competence, you have confidence, you have global readiness. So what are we doing? This is the structure. In 4 weeks, you have guided focused competency, building across all 6 domains. For 6 weeks, you have community, accountability, and implementation support. For 12 months, you have full access, so you can revisit all the programs and all the recordings and all of that. But you also have 200 plus micro lessons, so that each time you come back and you have access to that for 1 year. And you have access to this across the 20 plus specific competencies in the global framework. Now, AI is a thing. Prompting is, some of you have come across prompts, but they are prompts that will blow your mind. There are prompts that you will begin to train to blow to even blow the people's minds that you're working with. So you find that these are practical, you can immediately implement them. And then we have 6 professional pathways. You can go through the professional classroom master, you get your certificate, you have that, you can display that on LinkedIn, your digital badge, you have your leader, you have the entrepreneur, you have the AI educator, you have the global educator, we also have the holistic educator. So there are different pathways that you would go through. And each time you get any of, you pass that stage, you get the digital badge for that as well. One thing I know is that the urgency that we're facing now is not structural. It's structural, it's not artificial. And we find that the AI transition window is real. There's going to be you're going to see what is going to happen between 2026 and 2028. And many schools, many parents, many organizations are raising their hiring standards right now. But also the competency gap is widening every minute, every second, every day that you wait. So we have three types of teacher that would exist by 2028. We have the ones that we call the early adopters. So they learn the architecture early and then they begin to lead the system. The second one is the late adapters. They are struggling to catch up. The third set of people we have are the locked out teachers. So these are the ones that they are excellent people. I'm a good teacher, I'm very passionate, but they're irrelevant to the new system and you don't want to be caught there. So the difference between these three groups, the late adapters, the locked out teachers, and the early adapters, is that it's timing. Timing is what is going to differentiate these three groups. Timing is not just going to be intelligence, it's timing. And we're starting this finishing school ASAP. Now, your investment in this is 36,000 naira, which is about, I don't know what it is in dollars. It's about $20 for a whole year. And anybody who takes action between today and the 15th would have access to the African Educators AI Command Kit. Is something entirely different. It's on a different level. You will have access to a group income architecture workshop where I am sitting with you and we're really architecting how money will come to you. There's a way money comes. And the third bonus is the Global Educator Visibility Playbook. So for, I think about 36,000, please correct me if I'm wrong. That's what you have access. And you have access to me for 4 weeks, where every weekend, either on a Friday or Saturday, depending on how we arrange it, you'll have a class. If you miss the class, you can always pay attention to the recording or of the session. Okay? Now, you've seen it. We've set the standard. You can't say nobody is training you. You can't say that you don't understand all of these things I'm saying. You cannot say you want to elevate and I haven't shown you what path is available to you. I now want to ask you, are you ready to be built for this world that now exists and the one that is even coming? I don't know. I can't see any comments. So if there are any comments, let me know. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have. If there's anything that is not clear about the Teacher Architect Finishing School, let me know. If there's anything that I have also said here that you want me to re-explain, let me know. But this is what we have for you in the Teaching Architects Finishing School. So I'm here to answer your questions. Evelyn, let me know how we are doing. For comments.
Yeah, we have comments coming in. We have comments coming. We have people saying they are ready. They are ready, and our team is already sharing the link. Once you see the link, kindly click get in now. Get in now. Make your payment and get in. 36,000 naira for a whole year. That's a lot. That's
That's
a
about
lot.
3,000 naira a month.
That's that's something. That is
That's
something. And from what you've learned here tonight, just imagine what you're going to get when you get into the finishing school. Then if you pay between now and the 15th, you already also know that there are a lot of bonuses for you to enjoy. So please let's get in. Let's get in. Do this now. Do this now. Do not even overthink it. Do not overthink it. Do not overthink it. It's time to get the full juice. Just when you need to squeeze out all the juice, right? What you just got it tonight, it's just a scratch on the surface. So yeah, I see our team already sharing the link in the chat. Click the link, make your payment, and get into the room. Get into the room. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting some responses. This teaching is awesome. It appears to me this is for teachers in primary and secondary school. What of the lecturers?
it
What of
applies to
the I
lecturers
believe
as well.
yes, it
It applies
applies
to
to lecturers.
lecturers.
I believe if you had followed from the beginning to the end, you also see how this applies to you. Yeah, you also see how this applies to you. Okay, we so please can someone help us quickly give the calculation of 36,000 the amount of this in Ghana cities. We have our Ghana people here.
Um, We can check that 6,000 in CDs.
So there's no Mr. Bright. I can see your message. There is no account details. We are sending you directly. Just click on the link that is being shared, and it will take you to where you make your payment.
So
Just click on the so
36,000 is
the
about
exact price.
280
The exact
Ghana
price
cedis.
for the finishing school is 36,978 naira. I see people saying exactly 36,000. So it is 36,978 naira. Yeah, so we have the price for the Ghana cedis.
Evelyn, can I take some questions? I see some questions that are being sent to me.
Okay.
Are curriculum designers still relevant considering the evolution of AI? Of course. Of course. They are still, it's beyond even classrooms. People are still designing curriculum. I can't tell you how many curriculum programs I've been involved in. I can't tell you how many, and there's AI. See, let me tell you something about AI. AI is leverage, but AI, those who know how to use it will not be replaced. AI is a tool that you must leverage. So don't think that, there's maybe I should release this report. There's what we call the skills of the future that will be replaced. There are some skills that will not be replaced. Not yet. We have what we call green jobs and all of that. Maybe that's something I would also do a session for um, in the finishing school. That's what we will do. So don't think you'll be replaced. 3,600 cedis. Someone asked, that's about 282. Sorry, 3,600, 36,000 naira in cedis is about 283 cedis.
That's 290 actually.
Okay. Another
290.
question. Explain more on how the finishing school will run in terms of timing and frequency of the classes. That's a very good question. So the way the finishing school will run is that you would have access to me for 4 weeks. I will be teaching you live, and you would, and it's about 60 minutes to 90 minutes, just like we've done here. If you miss it, you can always catch the recording. Okay. However, outside the 6 week in the 4 weeks, you have 6 weeks community access. So we're there, you're answering your questions and things like that. But you have access to, there's learning material. So let me explain this well. I don't think I've explained it well. You have access to training for an entire year. And it's not about the live classes alone. There are over 200 micro models that when you finish each stage, you get a LinkedIn relevant badge. Okay, so a digital verifiable badge on LinkedIn. You can put it on your LinkedIn, you can show it to employers, you can show it to your current school leader. You can't ask for more if you have not been able to show growth. And one of the things I want teachers and educators to get uncomfortable with is the lack of investment in themselves. People keep on saying, oh, I'm not earning much. You can't get to the next level if you're not willing to invest in yourself. We've made this as when you get in, I don't want to even show you the back end. Because if I show you, you may be like, let's open it this night, so that we start learning. Mm-mm. So the learning would happen on a Friday or Saturday, and it will be for 60 to 90 minutes. And this is where we're going through things that have already been put on the platform for you to learn, over 200 micro models, all manner of assessments. You have all manner of templates to use. You have learning materials to go back to school with for 1 year. You have access to those resources for 1 year. I hope that answers your question. Please, how do we build our CV to attract foreign employees? That's a very good question. Now, if you notice something, I mentioned competencies. Many people, when I look at a lot of Nigerian CVs or African people's CVs, they focus on just explaining, on saying degree. You write the degree, you write your date of birth. Some people write their villages. And when global employers see that, they're like, why is this person even writing their village for me in their CV? Why is your date of birth there? Why is your next of kin there? I know those things are practices that we do back home, but here it doesn't apply. Okay. So if you don't know, we also have JPAWS. JPAWS is for professional and academic writing and research. However, we're bringing in the competencies from JPAWS, making sure that you know how to structure your CV. There are a few things global employers are looking for, and we'll make sure that your CV follows that format. So you have a template to build your CV. You have access to some AI tools. You have access to some templates you have never seen before or made use of. Okay, so we will show you how to build your CV. Different CV styles apply to different countries. Different CV styles apply to different countries. A country like Germany, the CV style is completely different from what we use in the UK. What happens in Australia, the CV style is very close to what we use in the UK. I'm not asking educators to leave the classroom. I'm not asking you to go and leave the school you're currently teaching in. I'm saying upgrade yourself. Personal development is not something that is negotiable. So you cannot keep on waiting till government says come and be trained or your school says come and be trained. It is your responsibility. What we're showing you in the teacher architect finishing school will be applicable to where you currently are and where you're headed. Okay, I hope that also answers your question. So I'm taking more questions. Can a retired teacher go through this training? Yes, you can. One of the things that we have done, at least with JPAWS School, is we've had retirees work with us. I have some retirees who have worked with us and they are learning from scratch. You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to learn. I use my mom as an example. She's 78 and she's constantly reading. You're never too old to learn, and we've seen it globally. You see people who go back and say, I want to learn. The most important thing is anything you're doing, you're first of all doing it for yourself. For yourself. Okay? Yeah, so a retired teacher can go through that. How do you use AI in the right way? Those are things that we're going to teach you. We covered them in our training. We just covered a tiny bit in our trainings in Owerri, in Lagos, and in Abuja and Port Harcourt. But then we'll be going deeper. Never before seen, like my background is in AI. Never before seen, not this one. People are just saying, come and use prompt. Use this prompt to generate this fine image. I like all those things, but that's from the outside. We want to architect from the inside. Okay. Can you have a same? No, we're not doing sample images of the CV. You will join the teacher architects finishing school and we will be giving you the samples there. Okay. Okay. Any more questions? I'm just looking at questions that my team is sending, and let me know if there are more questions. But there's a fast action bonus. That's what I've said. So if you pay between now and Sunday night, you would have access to those 3 bonuses we've provided. But if not, you will go through the regular thing. There will be that bonus will not be there unless you toast me. Okay. How relevant would you say CPD courses are? Can they replace further studies in a method like Montessori, etc.? That's an interesting question. So I like Maria Montessori. I have her book next to me somewhere here. I like Maria Montessori a lot. She's good. I like her method. It helped me with bringing up my children. Those are fundamental things that, practices. So you find that there are Montessori schools. You can find, for instance, here you may find that there are academies, grammar schools, independent schools, and they're all following different processes. So the Montessori school follows a teaching practice or a teaching method. Okay. CPD courses Depending, they are relevant. They are relevant, especially if the courses are being updated as things are evolving. So, like practices are evolving daily. And I forgot to mention this about the teacher architect finishing school. As you enroll in the training, as things are being updated globally, you're getting them. So if there are new things that which need to expose you to, even after the 4 week access to me, you will see those things as micro modules that you should take on your learning platform. I hope that answers that question. Um, so um let me see any more. Can your phone, you can do it on your phone. You don't have to have a laptop. You can do it on your phone. So if you joined this class this night on your phone, that's the same way you can go through the lessons on your phone. The most important thing is the upgrade you begin to feel as you start to take the classes, the courses. You will begin to feel very different, very, very different. Okay. What is the difference? Oh, wow, a very good question. Difference between CV and portfolio. I like that. When you have a CV is different. A CV is saying, these are the things I have done. Just know a bit about me. These are the places I have worked. A portfolio is different. A portfolio is saying, let me use it. Let me give you a very good example. Imagine somebody now who is a designer. Okay, you're a designer, so maybe graphics and all of those things. You have a CV, graphic designer, but I'm not seeing anything. So I can't from your CV just read words and know that you're a good graphic designer. What I'll be interested in seeing is your portfolio, where there are samples of things that you have done, projects you have worked on. And even if you have to anonymize the people you worked on those things for, but you can show me as in I have living proof. Your CV is okay, scaled a company by 150%, brought in this revenue. Those things are good metrics. Your portfolio is living. Okay. So if there's a way you design children's lessons or design your lesson plan, that's what I'll be seeing in your portfolio. But don't worry, those who are joining between now and Sunday, I mean, you can, if you register between now and Sunday, it doesn't mean that the registration is ending on Sunday. If you register between now and Sunday, you would have the portfolio kit. There is a portfolio kit. Okay. And I'm bringing this from years of experience setting up institutions here. Um, so, okay. I hope that answers the question between different CV and portfolio. Um, how is this training going to help you as a retired educator? Are there practices? There are people who are retired that have schools. So one of the things that if you noticed in the pillars and the pathways I showed, I was even showing you entrepreneurship. And one of our core areas of focus this year is really helping schools stand. A lot of the schools that we've had to consult for, we're helping them revamp their processes. So if you're in the process of starting a school, or you're thinking of starting a school or creating an entrepreneurship pathway, then whether you're retired, in fact, you need it to help you set up whatever it is evergreen. This school is evergreen. It doesn't matter what stage you are in your career. Um, would there be another payment after the 36K payment? No, sir. It is once and for all. Okay. What happens after 4 weeks? So I said 4 weeks, you have access to me. I will be coming in. I'll be coming in with other people as well, but you will see me there primarily teaching you like we have done today. And those ones are interactive classes. So, there are people that would put on the spot to review their work and things like that. Those will be live practical teaching sessions. Okay. After that, during those 4 weeks, you have access to community managers for 6 weeks. So you have access to me and community managers for 6 weeks. If you notice, I've been coming into the groups and I've been saying hi, I've been putting videos so that you know that we're real. Last year, we were going to different countries training so that you know that we're real. Okay, so you have access to the community for 6 weeks. That's the community of teacher architects or the teacher architect finishing school community. You have access to us for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, you still have access to the learning materials. That does not mean that we don't have what we call the follow through method. So you will still get emails and nudges from us. But more importantly, don't focus on just amassing the certificate, but because when you finish each pathway, you get your digital badge that is verifiable on LinkedIn. And that's one of the positionings that we're also talking about. Um, okay. Would there be certificate? This thing I've been saying, this certificate immersion, you will get a certificate, but it's not just getting the certificate, you will get a globally recognized certificate. I hope that makes you feel better. Okay. Can a consultant join your class? If you're a consultant, you should be here. So if you're a teacher, you're an educator, irrespective of, oh, I teach in Polytechnic, or I'm a primary school teacher or secondary school teacher. If you ever have to, there's knowledge transfer between you and students, then you should enroll. If there's knowledge transfer between you and maybe schools, consultants, you should because there are specific ways to behave and specific things that you need to learn that would help you. See, this work is not just about me. It's about us coming and forming a collective that can make sure that we advance the African education system. If wanted to price this, would have priced it higher. But no, I'm like, let's keep it minimal and make sure we advance the African education system as much as we can. Would there be exam after each module? Now, this is an interesting question. You have assessments you must pass because if you don't pass them, you can't move to the next one. Now, when we talk about the exam, that's a completely different program from the teacher architect finishing school. That one is if you now want to work with us as a trainer and maybe as a consultant, so that's a different one, but you would have assessments to finish. Okay. Um, so I'm just seeing how can the masterclass help a school head? Oh, you need it. Let me explain this. Some school heads I have come in contact with and consulted for have um, developed or created schools out of passion, not necessarily because they have an understanding in education. So some are business owners. But what would empower you more is that you and your staff are speaking the same language. We go in and train staff. I mean, we do a lot of virtual training for staff, for teachers, educators, and for school owners. But what will empower you is that you're speaking the same language. For instance, imagine your teacher is giving feedback to a parent and you don't even understand what they're doing. So school heads, anybody that even people doing your admin, things are going to really improve. How do you attract students to you? This is another question. How does money come to you? There are some schools I will never send my child to, and people will never send their children to because those things are missing. Now, the way money can come to you is when you're able to communicate very well. You're able to communicate clearly using certain language. The reason your your income hasn't gone up is because you're not positioned well and your teachers are not positioned well. So this is one of the things when you can see our teachers have undergone this training. This is the this, and they start to communicate using the statistics, using the templates, using the tools that we give. You're going to see a massive difference, and in your intake rates, you're going to also see a massive difference in your dropout rates. So, for instance, I remember someone was saying, "Oh, can you help me get an online teacher, an educator, and said, I don't want a man to teach my children because of this. There are some inappropriate behaviors. For instance, here, if you have to teach or engage with children, there's what we call DBS. So there are certain things that we'll not even be hearing about certain schools and teachers. Things like, you hear about rape and you will not hear because some of these things, the kind of language you communicate to an international audience is different, is completely different. Okay, so there are certain things you're going to unlearn. Yeah. If you are speaking to a child in the UK, they would understand cookie. In the US, it's different. They'll say biscuit. You see how you're wearing, maybe you're wearing pants, trousers. If you say pants here, they'll think that you're referring to, pants, the underpants that you wear. So there are certain things, I'm just using this as examples. There are certain things that to be globally relevant, there's a change in the language and there's a framing and positioning that you have to occupy. You need more clearance on the 12-month access. The clearance on the 12-month access is that you have access to over 200 plus micro models. See, my problem and my stand has always been that when you educate a teacher, when you educate a student, you've educated one person. That's a principle we believe in TTT. But when you've educated a teacher, you've educated thousands. That's a philosophy that we have. So if you notice, my focus is not on children. My focus is first on the teacher, because the teacher is a molder and shaper of destinies. So you're having access to continuous professional development. You don't need any other CPD after this. 200 micro models will carry you for the whole year. And then it's not overwhelming. They're small bite-sized, but you will get the meat of the matter. So you have access for 12 months to the learning platform that has over 200 plus lessons, micro models. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Is there the opportunity for 2 installments? I will have to speak to the program manager and she would, communicate that. I don't have that power. We have made this as reasonably priced as possible. Will you get the PDF format of the lecture or replay? We don't give PDF formats. I would also speak to the program manager. I don't know what the arrangement is for a recording of this. How relevant can this training be to a local language teacher? See, my co-laborers are on this call. The other day I said I need an Igbo teacher, and I'm not joking. If you are a local language teacher, you don't know what you're missing out. I'm telling you, I had to look for an Igbo teacher for my children. I said they have to learn a Nigerian language, and mine is even faulty. So even me, I'm now in class. So this is relevant for you because irrespective of subject, remember I said local to global. It will apply to the local market, but it will also apply to the global market as well. There are people like me that are looking for, I want to learn Yoruba well. I can speak it. No, I can understand it, but I can't speak it well. So there are things that people like me who want to learn. And I'm not trying to say I don't know how to do, but make you feel good. I'm not trying to sell this thing to you because, see, you just need to get it. That's it. Um, Give us the bank account and details. Okay, I'm sure the people will be attending to you. Give us the bank account and details to pay into the Future Ready group. Can the payment be made instrumentally? I've already said that our program manager will answer to that. Can I be relevant as a French language teacher in this training? I've answered that. Irrespective of subject. Irrespective of subject, this would apply. There are things that you must know before you teach your child. There are things, it's not, this now is not subject. While saying, what is the context? This has nothing to do with subject. Okay. I think I have tried with answering your question. Is there any other question that hasn't come in yet? Any other question? Any other question? You will see me in the group, but please don't send me messages. Oh, I'm a married woman. Oh, I have children. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of the life of my destiny. But it's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure being with you this evening. It's been a pleasure pouring into you. I hope what you have learned today, you would work with it. But I want to see you in the school. I want to see you make real difference. So whether you're a special education needs educator, there's a SEND pathway as well. There's an AI pathway. Many of these trainings, you will pay premium for them, but we've really subsidized it. So it's been a pleasure teaching you, being with you this evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for just investing in learning. I was really blown away by the number of people that were registering and just hungry to learn. And this hunger you've brought in is going to yield you good results. Okay, I see one more question. I think I can. Can a non-trained teacher who is interested in teaching join? Yes. If you heard me in the course of the conversation, I said we have a lot of accidental teachers. Accidental teachers are people who don't have, they stumbled into teaching, not by choice, but by design. So maybe you went for youth service and they just carried everybody, yeah, go and start teaching in classrooms. And you start teaching, or maybe there was no job and somehow you now like this. So whether you're an accidental teacher, whether you're an intentional teacher, or you're just thinking, say, I can grow into this. And another thing, if you're a children's church teacher, you need this. Children's church teachers or people who work with children, whether volunteering, and you need this training. You need this training. You will see, you would understand what I mean when you get into the school. I hope this has given you like a bit of what we're about and just a tiny bit. I don't want to show you the back end because you may not sleep well this night. You'll be like, please, can we just start already? Yes. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for spending your Friday evening with me. It's been a pleasure being with you. I'm sure the groups will be open. So if you have questions, we will respond to them as much as we can. I will see you in the finishing school. Have a good evening and have a very great weekend. Good night, everyone.
Authority, the old way is dead. Excellence is calling. Who answer? You said you wanted change in education, but are you ready to pay the price? No more excuses, no more complaining. Time to transform, not think twice. They gave you training, now what will you do? Will you rise up or stay the same? The children are watching, Nigeria's waiting. This is not a game, there's no going back from what you've learned today. No going back to the old tired way. Every lesson you teach, every standard you set, no going back, this is your moment, don't forget. TTT has equipped you, now show them what you're made of. No going back, no going back. Rise up with unshakable love. You know the truth about excellence, you've seen what greatness can do, but knowing is not enough anymore. The question is, what will you do? Will you settle for average teaching or push beyond what you've known? The choice is yours, the time is now. Your destiny must be sown. Build it with brass and drums. Some will make excuses, some will find a way, some will keep complaining, some will seize the day. Which teacher will you be when the pressure comes?